Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our Evolve 365 Microsoft Tips and Tricks session today. We wanted to start this weekly series to give simple and easy tips that anyone can go back to their desk and quickly implement. We know your time is valuable, so we strive to keep these sessions to right around 30 minutes. For anyone who's new, my name is Julie White. I'm an Evolve 365 Trusted Advisor with Planet Technologies. If you ever have a question after a session, please feel free to send me an email, or you can contact your dedicated Evolve 365 Trusted Advisor. This week we're going to be talking about OneNote and all of the wonders that it offers us. We're definitely going to talk about what OneNote is and then go on to some of the tasks and things that we can do with it. I think that OneNote can be a little bit intimidating when you first start looking at it, so we'll make sure that we look at all of the different aspects of it and really hone in on what it is. So why do we want to use OneNote? OneNote is a great application that can help us get organized. It is available on multiple platforms, Windows, Mac, and mobile devices. We can sync the application across all of those devices when it's connected to the cloud. So if we store it within OneDrive for Business or a SharePoint site, that is what we're talking about when we say the cloud. And we can also include hyperlinks, images, videos. We can even embed files straight into our notes. We can create our own templates for pages, or we can use some of the pre-built ones that are available to us. And what's very nice about OneNote is that everything within it is searchable. So we can search on keywords. So as the bigger your notebook gets, you'll still be able to find things very easily. And how do we access OneNote from anywhere? We do want to make sure that those are stored in the cloud. So we can actually change the default location of our OneNote notebook from our C or local drive to a cloud location. Again, that can be OneDrive for Business or SharePoint. We can also, we want to make sure that we sync those notebooks to all of the devices. So if we change the location of a notebook, we would then want to sync it, on our mobile device or our tablet or something of that nature, so that it is going to the correct location. We can also change the backup schedule to fit our needs, and we can have different default locations for different notebooks. So not all notebooks have to be stored in the same location. Of course, if you have different SharePoint team sites, you might have a notebook for each of those team sites, and so on and so forth. Some of those cloud locations, again, can be OneDrive or OneDrive for Business. We do also have the ability to store them in Box and Dropbox, and then, again, SharePoint Online. Let's go ahead and jump in and look at the interface and talk a little bit about what OneNote actually is. So this is going to be OneNote 2016. What we're looking at right now is the desktop application of OneNote. And when we talk about what OneNote actually is, of course, it's an application to allow us to take notes. And really what we can use as an analogy for this is a trapper keeper. I know that all of us had those growing up in school, so this is an analogy that works really well for OneNote. Basically, the application would be our trapper keeper, and then within it, within a trapper keeper, we have dividers, and in OneNote we have sections, but they look like dividers, so it's very easy to know what that is. And then within those dividers in our trapper keeper, we would have our loose leaf paper that we would write our notes on. And in OneNote, within our sections, we have pages, which is where we write our notes. So it's pretty good analogy. It's a great way to think about the application so that when you first come into this application, you're not intimidated by it. Of course, it will be empty and blank, and you won't really know what to do or how to get started. So we'll definitely take a look at making sure we know how to do all of those actions just to get your notebook going. So you can see that we have sections here, and we can also add sections. So all we have to do is click on it, and then it adds the section for us, And then, of course, we can rename it at any time if we wanted to. We just rename it. It allows us to type in here. And then what we're looking at over on the far right, you can see our pages. When we first create a section, it will create the just the default page. And then we could always add new pages by clicking on the Add Page. Now, if I wanted to title this page, all I have to do is click up here. You can see it gives me a little space for the title of our page. And we could just type in whatever the title of that page is going to be. Perhaps it's a date for a meeting, perhaps it's a project number, and so on and so forth, whatever you're using the notebook for. And then if I wanted to add a page, again, I can just come over to the far right and select Add a Page. You can see that it just adds an untitled page for us. Now we will look at how to create templates and create default templates a little bit later on so that when we do add pages in specific sections, we can actually have them be whatever type of template we want. But right now we're just looking at the interface to get us going. The one thing that I want to note is that sometimes the ribbon, which is should be very familiar to you if you're used to working with Microsoft products, we do have the tabs available to us for inserting, drawing. We can look at the history here. The review gives us those spelling correction options, and then the view, of course, gives us a little bit more zoom in, zoom out type of stuff and how the page looks. The Home tab, of course, probably the most familiar. It does look exactly like our Word formatting options. But what you might see is something like this. So what I did was I closed the ribbon. If you're ever in a situation where you're finding that the ribbon is disappearing on you and you have to continue to click on the tabs to get it to show up, you know, it will show up here for a little while, but you see when I click away, it disappears again. That can be a little bit annoying. And so what we want to do is make sure that if we want this to show all the time, we just come over to the far right and there's this little pin, and we can actually pin the ribbon, and that will allow the ribbon to stay for us all the time. And then, of course, we can close it if we wish. So if you're wondering, you know, either way, if you'd like it to close, we can do that, and if you would like it to stay, we can do that. So just a little tidbit for you there. Now, the other thing I want to share with you, this is the desktop application of OneNote. So what is important to note here is that even though this is the desktop application, OneNote is saving all of our changes periodically for us automatically. This is not one of those applications such as Word, PowerPoint, and Excel where if it's the desktop application, we have those save options. This one is definitely going to be saving and syncing our information automatically. So if I come over to the Files tab, you can see that I do not have a save feature. And what you'll notice as well is I do not have a Save As feature. So if I wanted to change the location of this notebook, perhaps I create it on my desktop because that's very easy. You know, perhaps I was working here. And then maybe I want to upload it to my OneDrive a little bit later on because you find that it would be nice to be able to work on it, you know, outside of work or whatever the case is. We can come down to Options. And I do recommend you come into the options and of course look at all of these to make sure that the settings are set the way you want to. Of course, the proofing, we can do different types of proofing here. So these are definitely things that you can come in and customize to make sure that the application is working the way that you prefer it to. But what I want to show you is the Save and Backup section. So this is where we can change our backup schedule, and basically what this is meaning is that we want to back this up and where we want to do that. So very easy to change, you know, when that's happening and so on and so forth. And then at the bottom, we can actually modify the location of the OneNote. So we could always put it in the cloud if we would want to. Very easily we can find those OneDrive locations if they're synced, and any other locations if you have SharePoint libraries synced as well. So that is some of the desktop application interface stuff. So let's go ahead and look at OneNote Online. Now, what we're looking at right here is our OneDrive for Business. I just chose OneDrive for Business because it is very easy to understand and see, and most people have access to OneDrive versus a SharePoint library that may look different for every organization, may look different for every individual team. So we'll go ahead and use OneDrive for this example. Now, what I could do here is create a new OneNote Online notebook. So any of these that I create from the new section would be the online version. It'll open in the online version for us. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll just look at the interface very quickly. And I'll just call that Evolve 365, and it's going to take us straight into our notebook. So it's very easy to create online notebooks. You can see that I still am in Office 365. I'm in OneNote Online, and then it's giving me breadcrumbs to tell me where I am. This is being stored in my OneDrive for Business, so the name of that library is actually my name, and then the name of the document. Now this, if you are familiar with OneNote Online, perhaps you noticed that the interface changed just slightly very recently. So if you are used to OneNote Online, this actually might look different if you haven't used it in a few weeks. But what we now see is that these sections are on the far left, and you can see that we're also getting a little divider kind of image to tell us that this is a section. And then on the middle left, we have our pages. So these definitely are in different places. The create a section and create a page used to be up here at the top, but now we are getting a search option at the top. So just so you're aware, this did change slightly very recently. But if I wanted to add a section, I would just click here, give it a name, and then it would show up underneath. If I want to add a page, same type of deal. And you want to make sure that you're in the appropriate section to create your page and those types of things. But this one, again, you know, versus the desktop application where the sections were on the top and the pages were on the right, now everything's on the left for us here. We do still get our ribbon. Up here at the top, we can do the exact same thing we can do. We can collapse the ribbon, or we can pin it using those same icons. And we do still have quite a bit of formatting options that we can do. I will tell you that there are some limitations to the online application of OneNote, and that is consistent with the other Microsoft online applications. Of course, we see some limitations to Word and Excel as well. So there's nothing new in that nature, but I will show you kind of some of the options in the insert area that are available on the desktop that are not in the online version. Again, we'll talk about those items a little bit later. This files area will look different than the desktop application as well. I do want to just point out again that we are not seeing the save or save as options. We do, of course, see sharing options. We do get that on the desktop application as well. But just so you're aware, we are getting the saves automatically. Microsoft is saving these things to their location where they live automatically for us. We never have to do anything. And you'll see on the far right, we get the status of our save. So, you know, as you're working, it'll say saving, and it'll just continuously always being saved for you. So no worries about losing your information. And that's one of the great things about the online versions of the Microsoft applications. They all do that. So to jump back into our OneDrive, all I have to do is click on the library name, and it'll put us back into the OneDrive, and you can see that my new notebook is here available to us. So that's just a quick overview of the desktop and the online interface. So let's go back to our presentation and take a look at some of the actions that we can do within the notebook. So the templates and keyboard shortcuts are actually quite impressive. They're very easy to use and can, really help us save time and energy in the long run. So OneNote does have many templates and shortcuts that are helpful, and some of those templates are actually available to us right off the bat. We don't have to actually make them. So the page templates are found in the Insert ribbon, and we can specify which is the default for each different section. You can also create your own templates. We'll look at that. And then the headings can be applied using the keyboard shortcut Control Alt 1, 2, 3, etc. So we'll look at those. And then we do have checkboxes and other callouts that can be added by using the Control 1, 2, 3, etc. So we'll look at those as well. Something to think about when we're talking about templates and keyboard shortcuts is that, the writing notes is supposed to be a quick and something very simple to do. So these items can really save us a lot of time in that regard. So let's go ahead and jump over and look. We'll look at the desktop application first. I am going to jump over to our page templates section just to use it as a demonstration. Now if I click into the Insert tab, I have all of the things that I can insert. And we'll talk about a little bit, some of these, a little bit more detail after this, after the page templates discussion. But the page templates are in the Insert tab. And they're located right here. And if I click on them, what it's going to show me is any that I have created already, and then the other default page templates. So what's nice is that I get a whole lot of pre-built templates, and then I'm also getting anything that I have created. So my templates are the ones that I've created. And then let's say I wanted to look at the business ones. I can do project overview. I could do a meeting. If we add that, you can see what that looks like. The project overview, if I add that, you can see what this one looks like. So you could see that very easily, very quickly, I could have a template for my notes created just by using the default ones. But let's say that you create a template that works best for you. And let's say that you're sharing this notebook with an entire project team. The nice thing about creating your own templates is that it keeps it consistent, and there's no guesswork about what types of information we want to capture within a meeting. There's no guesswork on the types of information that we want everyone to know about a project, and so on and so forth. So it's very nice to use templates when you are working with a group of people in OneNote. So of course this is just very simple for demonstration purposes, but if I wanted to save this as a template, in this templates area at the very bottom I have the Save New Template, and this is going to save the current page as a template. So if I click on this link, it's going to ask me to name it, and then it's offering me very quickly, very easily, I could set this as the default template for new pages in the current section. So we'll go ahead and say yes to that and click on Save. You can see that it also changed the default template in this area down here. And then when I click on New Page, it's going to offer that up. So just remember that the title of the page also gets saved. So that's just something, a little note to keep in mind. Now the checkboxes and other items we can definitely look at. These are going to be located in the home page. It's more of the formatting section. So if we wanted to look at our shortcuts, and we'll go ahead and close the templates so we get a little bit larger area to look at. But very easily I could, let's say, we'll just use these because there's some written text here. We'll go ahead and use these, but I could easily do Control Alt 1, and you can see that that went to the heading 1, and I didn't even have it highlighted. I can very easily be on this, just this line, and do Control Alt 2, and it'll do the second heading and so on and so forth. So we'll do Control-Alt-3 for this one, and you can see that those very quickly get changed without me having to search for the heading and change it, highlight the text I want to change. So you can see how quickly we can write notes, we can keep them very organized, we can keep them formatted. Now the note here is that we do, when we hover over the headings, we do see the keyboard shortcut. So that's something to note. We can always expand this and see what we have offered to us. The Control-Alt for headings goes all the way to 6. And then after that, we can always change back to normal or those types of things, but we will have to go in and find those. We get Control-Shift-N for this one, and so on and so forth. So you can come in here and learn the shortcuts that are important to you. The next option are going to be some of these tags or callouts. So let's say something we wanted to create a to-do list, and all of the information that we want to put down should have a checkbox next to it so we can mark them off when we're done. All we have to do on this one is going to do Control-1, and you can see the shortcut is listed here for us. If it's important, we can do Control-2 and add a star. Perhaps the next one we want to do is Control-3. That'll make sure that we know that we need to follow up with a question or something of that nature. Again, go ahead and expand this, and you can see all of the different keyboard shortcuts that we have available to us. You can also see that there are some important tags that do not have a keyboard shortcut. By default, of course. So we would want to make sure if we wanted something to be critical, we come in and label it as such. Now let's jump over to the online version very quickly. I'm going to open our notebook back up. A note here is that when you open any file really in the online version, either of SharePoint or OneDrive, is to select it and then choose the Open dropdown. This cuts out a step where if we click on the title, it will open in a read-only format, and then we have to take the extra step to decide how we want to edit the document. By selecting it and clicking the Open dropdown, I'm getting the option to edit it right away. So this will open straight into an edit view. So that's just a tip as far as working in the cloud. And then I do want to point out that we have these same types of options here in the cloud, except in the Insert tab, you can see that we do not have the option to create templates. So that is one of the bigger notes that we'll see today in today's presentation. The limitation in the online version does not allow for us to create templates. So just keep that in mind. I did want to just share that with you here before we talk about the next item. So we'll jump in and talk about saving images, files, and more within our notes. So we can create dynamic notes by inserting different items using the Insert menu. We do also have a built-in toolbar. Of course, we see that with the ribbon. And then we can actually pull text from images because it's using a specific type of application product called OCR, which is the optical character recognition. And what that allows us to do is pull text from a picture. This is actually very cool. I don't think I've seen it a lot of different places, but OneNote allows us to do that, and then we can format the text any way we want and put it into any form, any type of document or anything else like that. It's actually very neat. I'll show you how to do that. Now it is dependent on the quality of the image. So if it's very blurry or again the quality of the image isn't very good, the text may not pull from that picture. Let's go ahead and look at the different items within the Insert menu and the different ways we can create dynamic note pages and sections. Again, we're going to start in the desktop area, and I'm going to jump over to our Pictures option here, and we'll go ahead and look at the Insert tab. Now right away we're getting a ton of options. We can add tables, we can add file printouts, and we can actually attach files as well. If I click on this option, it's going to offer me up the option to search for and select a document and insert it. The next option it's going to ask me is, do I want to attach this file, which will be a small icon that I could click on to open it, or do I want a printout version in this page? I will use this just for demonstration purposes, but the printout does show the document body right within your OneNote page. So you can see a very nice little guide that we can move around. The nice thing about OneNote, everything is freeform, very easy to use. We also have the option to do screen grabs, pictures, those types of things, all very, very familiar, should be very familiar. We get all of these options in Word and those types of things as well. We can hyperlink if we wanted to. And then we do have the options for recordings. This is really cool. I always find that, you know, we see in TV, doctors, lawyers, all types of people like to record their notes, have audio notes and those types of things. If you are one of those people, you can actually do that within OneNote, keep everything in a nicely organized space, but still have your audio notes. The other nice thing that we have are timestamps. So perhaps we're taking minutes in a meeting and we need to put in the date and time and, you know, of course, who was speaking. We can absolutely do that. If we do date, it just gives us the date. If we do the time, it just gives us the time. And of course, the date and time is both. And then again, we have our page templates here. But I'm sure you want to see when I select the picture here, you can see that it has text. If I select it and right click, it gives me the option to copy text from picture. So if I do that, now that is copied and I can select anywhere and say Control V, of course that's paste, and then it's going to put all of that information just right here for me to grab and pick. Now what I do want to note is looking at this, it's picking up what's in the ribbon as well, and also our pages and sections. So that's just something to note. You know, it's not perfect. It is grabbing all of the text within the picture, but then of course we can pull out what's important and you know, not have to then retype it or anything like that. Now we will jump over to Outlook Online just very quickly. Just to note that we do get options in the Insert tab. Again, we're getting very basic options here. We're getting tables, pictures, we can do the files, but that's pretty much it. We can also hyperlink here, but we're not getting the audio recordings, audio or video recordings, and remember, we're not getting the page templates. So again, small stuff. It might not be a big deal for most of us, but if you're finding some of those limitations, please just remember that, of course, Microsoft is consistently updating and making things better and more efficient. We can see that just here with the way the interface is laid out. So if you're looking for something, perhaps it'll get added a little later on. I do want to just point out a couple of ways that we can use OneNote. Of course, when we're talking about professionally, we can use them for project notes, plan and progress meetings, other meeting notes, how-to documents. Because OneNote is free-form text, it kind of eliminates some of those formatting issues that we see in Word when we're trying to do things with pictures and call-outs and those types of things. We can do event preparations and then also training outlines and notes, a lot of different things that we can do. We can also use OneNote personally if that's of interest to you. You know, you can house recipes, we can organize volunteer work, we could organize our travel plans or perhaps any of our kids' after-school activities and those types of things as well. So it's very versatile, both professionally and personally. Planet Technologies does have a YouTube channel with samples of our tips and tricks sessions as well as other webcasts, and you can subscribe to the channel to get updates on new videos. If you're an Evolve 365 customer, you do have access to this weekly webcast, and our tips and tricks videos are slowly being added to your portal. You can look for the tips and tricks subject under all products. Evolve 365 does have over 260 videos on OneNote. That does include OneNote 2016 and OneNote Online. And if you're using OneNote 2013, we do also have that content as well. I hope this session on OneNote was informative and helpful for you. Thank you to everyone who joined today, and I hope to see you online next week.